But first, let's hear from an architect plying his trade in Asia and beyond. Andre Fu joined me from our Hong Kong bureau before we came to air to talk me through his latest projects and the design scene more broadly.
We are currently working in quite a few cities. The one that will unveil soonest is the bar at the Shangri-La at the Shard. That will probably come up April or May, so yeah, fairly soon.
Fantastic. And this is off the back of the Opus Suite at the Berkeley, isn't it? Your venture into the London design scene. I know you've worked extensively across Asia. How does it differ when you're working in somewhere like London? Is it the same tacks that you take, or do you find you have to sort of tailor-make your style for a London market?
Well, for the Opus Suite, it's quite a unique proposition because, again, the Mayborn Hotel Group is a very institutional hospitality team. And context of Knightsbridge and Hyde Park, I mean, that as a context is obviously very, very different from the Shard. For the Shard, it completely, as we know, a brand new building, a very different type of building form for the City of London as well. It's going to be called Gong. It's very, very, actually much more Asian driven in my perspective. It might be even more Oriental than anything that I've done out in Asia, purely because I enjoy the fact that it is in a very modern building in London, but we're doing something very Oriental in spirit.
And I know you do your style, and I know you deliberately sort of try and resist this East meets West style. Do you find that when you come to London, that's what people are sort of wanting from you? Whereas actually a lot of the things you do back in Asia aren't particularly Asian or Eastern at all.
Well, I guess I talk a lot about the experience. I'm much more interested in the physical experience of being in a place. And in restaurants, or bars especially, it's the physical, emotional connection that I'm keen on. So it's a bar together with a swimming pool on level 52 of the Shard. So definitely the intention is to craft something very unique and somehow embrace Asian hospitality in a kind of much more kind of unique context.
And going back to hotels, I know you've got many hotels at the moment, particularly in Thailand, it seems. A lot of our listeners will know you for your work you did at the Upper House. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the hotels you're working on and what we can expect them to look like? Well,
I'm working on quite a handful. We're actually doing the Waldorf Astoria in Bangkok, which is a brand new hotel, on Ratchadrami, which is right next to the Grand Hyatt. It's a very prominent site. Again, a very unique project because the architecture is very organic in shape, but Waldorf as a brand pretty much speaks of a kind of Art Deco-ish language. So again, it's quite a different kind of proposition because we're juxtaposing Art Deco kind of language with a very organic type of building. And also, we need to reflect on the fact that it is in Thailand, and the whole kind of Thai cultural aspect is something we're trying to embrace also. So yeah, the three factors or the three elements are quite interesting.
And you're also doing the Park Hyatt in Phuket, aren't you?
Correct, yes. It's a very special project because we're actually working on two resorts at the moment. This is one of them. And Phuket is a very, very competitive landscape in terms of resort offerings. So again, very exciting.
Can you give us some teasers of what it's going to look like, or what sort of look and feel you're going for there?
Well, we are collaborating with a very renowned Japanese architect on the project. And again, it's very modern, very different type of typography in terms of how the whole architecture is intended to merge seamlessly with the landscape. And the interior is meant to be very kind of pared down, very simple, but it's all about experiences. So even the restaurants in itself, I mean, a lot of resorts, the restaurants tends to be more in keeping with the holistic hotel spirit, whereas in here, because our site is quite remote from the majority establishments within Phuket, so we're imagining that people who are going to stay in the resort will actually stay in it for a couple of days, and they might not necessarily go out. So we're crafting a unique kind of hilltop places for people to dine in, and also beachfront places which are much more about the rocks, and we're putting a lot of succulent plants just to reflect a kind of quite a different type of experience. So even the landscape itself has been specifically chosen to reflect the different experiences that we're trying to create.
Sounds like a dream project. I wanted to talk a bit more broadly about, I mean, particularly in Hong Kong, about what's going on at the moment. I think from our point of view in London, we just seem an endless stream of quite amazing projects done by the likes of yourself, Ilse Crawford, Thomas Heatherwick. You seem to be the sort of the dynamic trio at the centre of all these amazing projects going on. How exciting is Hong Kong at the moment? Just, I mean, particularly in the hospitality industry, for all these new launches that seem to be going off quite regularly?
Well, I guess I am in quite a good position right now because there is a lot going on in Asia as a whole and China as well. And people are generally looking for experiences that are a bit more unique, and increasingly owners or developers are hoping to differentiate from the market a little bit. So I always describe that we have two types of clients. I mean, one type are people who are very open-minded. They might be venturing into something that they've never done before, and they're hoping that someone like myself could actually create something very unique for them. The other type might be people that are really established hoteliers, and they're quite bored with what they have, and they've probably done 50 hotels already, and they're hoping to create something that is, again, different from what they've done previously. So the spirit of the fast-paced, very dynamic hospitality scene specifically is changing very rapidly, and it's demanding for change in a greater speed than it probably has been for the past kind of 20 or 30 years.
And there is that sort of almost ferocious development culture in Hong Kong, particularly, isn't there? These sort of big developers that just sort of raise buildings to the ground and then redo them, and it's this very sort of churning atmosphere of brand new projects going up all the time.
Yeah, and then there is also a degree of regeneration, of reworking inside existing buildings and maybe trying to kind of bring back the heritage. I mean, the one project that we did previously, it's in Singapore. It's the Fullerton Bay Hotel. And the entrance of the hotel is Clifford Pier, which is, in fact, the pier that all the migrants first landed in Singapore at. So that's where all the boats reach out to Singapore, and they actually land at Clifford Pier. So the pier now is actually the lobby of the hotel. And in fact, we're currently doing a renovation of this pier because it was formerly used for a different purpose. It was formerly used as a restaurant. And now we're actually incorporating the vast part of it to become part of the hotel lobby experience as well.
It's just that excitement, isn't there? That almost like imagination that seems to be happening a lot across Asia at the moment.
Yeah, especially for people living in Europe or the States. We talk about Asia as a whole, but in fact Asia is very different. I mean, working in Seoul versus working in Jakarta or Indonesia is very, very different. I mean, it's in Asia, but the cultural roots, the design sensitivity, the perception of what's public and private, it, again, is very different as well. So, I mean, it's really interesting for me because I'm actually learning about different cultures as we speak because they're so diverse.
Andre Fu there. Stay tuned. We'll be in Toronto next.